Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Gillette Pozos, and here with me is
Omar Pozos. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today?
How are you doing, Omar?
How am I? I am a little tired. So we're recording this the Monday after Mother's Day, and I had a little bit of travel. Got to go see my mom. So yeah, just now getting back into the swing of things. But of course, always good to, you didn't come with me this time, so it's always good to come back and see my lovely wife.
Yeah. Remember last night how you said you were going to go to bed early, and then instead we watched Secession and did not go to bed early?
I mean, that show is amazing, first of all. And if you guys don't watch Secession, go watch it because I love that show. But today I'll go to bed early. How about that?
I'm with you. I could use a little extra sleep today.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, today I wanted to go over a topic that I just threw out to you yesterday randomly. And I was thinking back to when we did the episode on like the fitness lies we used to believe. And that one was really popular. That was a really fun one to record. So I thought it'd be fun to do something more around some surprising health lessons that we wish we had known sooner, because I don't know about you, like I haven't seen your list, you haven't seen my list, but I would say that I could probably have cut some time off of my health journey if I had known these things sooner, because they definitely would have been more helpful for me.
Yeah. And what's crazy is when you sent me that prompt, I was like, let me start thinking about what it is that I believe now. And the more I started to like look down the rabbit hole, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, there's so many things that I now take for granted or that are just like common sense to me that a year ago were not, and it would have made a huge difference in my life. So I'm excited to share what we came up with as well.
Yeah, well, because one thing about us is we're never dogmatic about there being one way of doing things or that like our way is the only way, or like we're very, very much, if you haven't noticed, very involved in continuous education, constantly learning new things. And I swear every single month over month from the very first day I started coaching, I always look back and think, wow, I just know so much more than I did last month. And so what's really cool is, now we're 120 episodes in on this podcast.
Yeah, which is
just
crazy.
Thinking how much knowledge we've acquired over the last 120 episodes. It's really cool. And it's really cool that our longtime listeners have been on the journey with us, really learning alongside us.
The more we get to help other people, the other types of issues and cases we come across with, then it just helps us expand not only our knowledge, but also just familiarity with other things that I would have never even heard of or talked about,
Yeah. Well, let's dive in. So these are some surprising health lessons that we wish we had learned earlier. So, Omar, do you want to kick us off?
We can do that, or we can rock, paper, scissors, whatever you want. You tell me. It would be bad podcasting to sit here. Rock, paper, scissors. All right, cool. So number one for me, the biggest thing that I have really learned lately that I wish I knew before was it's going to take more than one fat loss attempt to be able to reach your dream body. Or it's going to take more than one muscle gaining attempt to be able to gain all of the muscle that you want, right? So it's not like in a matter of 90 days, you're going to have this amazing body and everything is going to be perfect. The point of weight loss, the point of searching for, or being healthy is not to just be healthy for a week or a day. It's to continuously be healthy for the rest of your life, right? So continue to work on this stuff, whether it's, building lean muscle or losing the weight that you want. It's a constant progress for the rest of your life, not something that we're going to do between now and Labor Day or between now and 4th of July, and then go back to our old habits. So that's been the biggest one. And honestly, it has just given me permission to be like, okay, you know what? I'm not quite where I want to be yet, but I can seek the next target. I can seek the next set of goals that I have for myself, put a plan together, get there. Now I have a new base and I can keep progressing, month over month, year over year, and ultimately become that best version of myself, which honestly, I don't even know if I'll ever meet, right? But just that
the continuous pursuit.
Yeah, exactly. That pursuit of becoming that best version of myself is what I really learned to love lately.
Yeah. Well, the true joy is found in the process. It's like we think we'll be happy when, we'll be happy when we have the dream body, when all of our health problems are fixed. But the reality is so much of the enjoyment comes from challenging yourself, overcoming challenges, and those feelings that come with that. So it almost would be just like a boring life if when it comes to our health and our bodies, all you had to do was one 90-day diet and suddenly you're set for the rest of your life. Like, no, everything is a continuous pursuit. I will never stop pursuing improving my health, improving my body composition. I know that you're the same way. And I think that's one of the reasons why we love each other so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I used to feel the same way about things, and that sort of mentality really kept me stuck for years because it's really a fallacy. Because if you tell yourself, you know, when I have time, I'll work on this stuff, or when I, you know, have a six pack, I'll work on my health and fitness, right? But it's backwards. You don't work on health and fitness once you're healthy. You don't go to the hospital once you're healed. You do it now so that you can be healthy. You do it now so that you can reap the benefits each and every day. So think of it that way and your world will completely change.
Yeah.
Or at least it changed for me.
I love it.
All right, what you got? Number one.
My first one, don't look at my list.
All right.
He's like, what do you got? And he like immediately looks over at my list on my laptop.
I feel like I'm one of those kids that's like taking a test. I'm like, oh, let's see what my partner next to me has.
Well, my first one, something that really surprised me that I really only learned probably in the last 3 to 6 months is the importance of diet variation, meaning that it is so important to make sure that you're not just eating the same things all the time. And honestly, I look back to like the early days when you and I first moved in together, and we were the absolute worst of just eating the same things. Like I can literally explain to you exactly what our day of eating would have looked like 5 years ago, because it would have been, you know, we meal prepped our chicken breast, our sweet potato.
Seasonings.
Same seasonings. Chicken breast, same seasonings on it. Sweet potato, same seasonings. Broccoli. And probably Brussels sprouts. And that would be our lunch every single day was chicken, sweet potato, and broccoli, or chicken, sweet potato, and Brussels sprouts. And, you know, every morning for breakfast, we also would always prep our yogurt parfait. We'd always have our Greek yogurt with apple and almond butter.
Yeah.
And like literally it was the same exact things every day. My snacks were the same because I always would pack my food for my corporate job going into work. And it was just easy. It took the thought out of things. I didn't have to like overthink like, oh, what am I going to have on the menu this week? It was just the same routines and it was so easy. I liked it. It was easy. That's what it came down to.
And the crazy thing is, because you took it from me, so my next one was going to be literally that diet variation. But even when we would order those pre-made meals, they were the same meals over and over. Or we would change, you know, between 2 and 3 meals, but it was the same thing over. And it got to a point where I was like, I guess this is it. I guess this is how you do it. But to your point, I think it is very important, and I'm sure you'll go into it, but yeah, changing things up a little bit every now and again.
Yeah, so diet variation, meaning that, again, you're not eating the same things all the time. You're mixing in different protein sources rather than just having chicken breast week over week. You might add in, you know, if you need like a lower fat protein source, like why not have some shrimp or some, you know, white fish or some tuna, or there's like so many different options that we can mix in here. And, you know, it's instead of just having low fat protein sources and then adding your fats externally with like avocado or something, why not mix in some fattier protein sources? And then same thing with, you know, even it can be something as simple as like lately I've been consistently having yogurt parfaits, but I make my parfaits different every single week. So it might be this week is, you know, a Greek yogurt with raspberries and coconut flakes. And then the next week is Greek yogurt with apple and chia seeds. It's like changing up our fruits weekly, changing up our protein sources weekly, changing up our veggies. These things are so important because those different types of food sources are feeding different bacteria, and they're really just helping your gut thrive, helping having a healthy gut microbiome. It's so important. If you're only eating the same things all the time, eventually you can almost develop a sensitivity to that food even. You can exacerbate some gut issues that might be underlying. And that's why you might find yourself saying like, I don't understand. I eat so healthy. Why am I so bloated? Why do I feel so blah? Why am I dealing with this brain fog? Why am I struggling to sleep well? Like it really can all come back to your gut health, and it can be something as simple as just changing up the types of foods that you're eating.
And even going into the point of like micronutrients, right? Like for me, I remember, you know, apple was a big fruit that I would eat, but I mean, nowadays we eat cherries, we eat raspberries, we eat blueberries, we eat mangoes, peaches, and all of these different fruits have so many different micronutrients that I was missing. And like, I just, because sure, like you said, it was easy to, you know, buy the same things over and over. We kept it simple, which worked at the time. But now seeing the lack of nutrients and stuff like that we were missing was huge. But then if you think about it too, from the mental side of, you know, if you eat the same things over and over, sure, you might push yourself a year, 2 years if you really have the discipline to do it. But eventually you're going to get sick and tired of it. And at that point, you're going to swing in the other pendulum and, go all into processed foods because you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had this or anything like that. But there's so many whole foods out there. There's so much variation that you can keep yourself motivated. You can keep yourself excited and still be able to eat so that you can reach those body or physical goals that you have,
Yeah, it just because it can be the smallest of swaps. You could still have the same meal. Maybe you like to have a, like a kind of like a stir fry dish. Well, maybe one week you do like white rice and chicken breast, and the next week you do a wild rice and some, steak. Like you can really just
ground beef or
switch up little different ingredients in it, and it really can make a big difference for your health.
Yeah. And if you think of it this way, which this is the example that I had that I was going to share, was think of it as if you're training. If you train the same body parts with the same movements day in and day out, your body is so smart, it's going to get used to it, right? So then there's not going to be enough stimulation to continue to help you grow, to continue to put on the lean muscle that you have. But instead, if you work smarter, not harder, like we always tell our clients, right? It's, changing things up every couple of weeks, stimulating your body in different ways, doing different movements so that your body doesn't ever get comfortable and it continues to send those, signals to continue to help you build the muscle that you want. And then you have the body that you want, but without having to work so hard at it.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple now, but at the time I'm like, why didn't I think of it this way?
Yeah, it's always the simple aha moments of like, oh, wait, like you're saying that it's not a good idea to just eat the same things all the time. Like, duh, that makes sense. But at the same time, it just was, wasn't so obvious.
I think you get caught up in the day-to-day life, and it's so much easier to buy the same grocery things over and over. It's
and
so
you think of like, at least back, I think like 5 years ago, the bro diet was encouraged as far as like eat the same shit all the time. Like, sorry for my language if you're listening with your children, but that was encouraged of like, oh, it's easier if you just eat the same things. You know that those will like fit your macros. Just eat the same stuff all the time. And it's really just not the best idea.
Yeah, and it's easy too to like on MyFitnessPal be like, oh, add the food from yesterday. And I get it. It's simple. It's easy. But if you have, 1 to 2
have your go-tos, but just switch up little ingredients.
Perfect. You took the words out of my mouth.
There we go.
So my turn, right?
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to say being okay or not knowing that you can go out to eat, that you can go to restaurants and still make progress towards your goals. I always thought it was all or nothing. I always thought if I meal prepped at home and I did everything from scratch, that was the only way to do things. And if I went to a restaurant, whether it's Chipotle or, like a nice sit down restaurant, I would absolutely throw all of my momentum, all of my progress away.
You were very all or nothing with eating out.
Yeah, 100%. But for me, it's more of a control freak like thing kind of, because I'm like, I know exactly what I'm cooking with. I know the oils and everything. And I'm like, this is the only way to do it. And then I would get so stressed when we would, at the time, I was working in my corporate job and we would go out to lunch and I was like, oh, I don't know. Like I need to order the most basic stuff because, it's going to have the least amount of oils or this or that. Or, if we were going out for a date night or if we were, we've shared our story here on the podcast where our very first date night, we like tracked our macros and we cooked at home, right? But not knowing that, like that I could go into a restaurant and still, stay within my goals was huge. And now that I think about it, not that we go out to eat very often now just because we're busy with work, but if, on Sundays when we go out to do our meal planning, we'll go and grab, what is it called? Sweet Green. And we'll have our bowl from there. Or, there's just so much flexibility. You don't have to be as rigid and still make progress towards it all. You just have to be smart about it. We continue to make choices that can help you. Like, for example, I was flying home yesterday and we went to Chick-fil-A. I had already had, a pretty good amount of carbs for breakfast. So then instead of fries, I opted for the fruit cup and little things like that you're like, oh, I can enjoy the things. I can go out to eat with my family and still make progress towards my goals. It just gives you such a big sense of relief. But again, it's just about knowing what to pick and choose that helps you feel the best.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it. Like, it's one of those things where it's hard to trust yourself eating out when you're new to kind of changing your lifestyle, changing into somebody that does, care about their nutrition and is knowledgeable when it comes to nutrition. But we have to kind of rebuild that trust because eating out is part of life. And the reality is, if you want to have a diet and a body that is sustainable, it's going to involve eating out. You're not going to be able to avoid restaurants for the rest of your life. So you have to learn to work them in.
And if you ask yourself, like, hey, am I ever going to go out ever again in my life? The answer is probably yes. Am I ever going to go to a fast food place because I need something quick and easy? Yes. So that's why you have to learn how to do it, because if you can do it when you're busy, you can definitely do it when you're not busy and be able to make things last long term.
I love it.
What's your next one?
So my next one then is the Goldilocks rule of working out. And that's what I call it. I kind of just made this up myself. But, I've talked about this in the past that I used to overtrain. I used to work out too much. I overstressed my body and I got to a place where I was just having like negative results. I was losing muscle and gaining body fat the more and more I worked out. And that's because I was doing too much. I was overstressing my body. And so that's where what I call the Goldilocks rule of working out is that there is a sweet spot for exercise. You can do too much and you can do too little. So when you're trying to lose fat, when you're trying to get toned, when you're trying to achieve, better health, better body composition, there is going to be a high and a low that we need to stay between. We don't want to be completely stuck on the couch and just be immobile. We want to, we don't want to be overtraining. We don't want to be like going to the gym every single day and just overstressing our bodies. We want to find the sweet spot, just like how Goldilocks, tasted one porridge that was too hot, tasted one porridge that was too cold, and then tasted another porridge and it was just right. We need to find that just right sweet spot when it comes to exercise, and it is different for different bodies. So that's where it's really hard to figure it out on your own. You need somebody externally to really help you interpret the data, help you talk through what are you seeing within your body, what are you feeling, and help you find what is the right amount for your body. Yeah. I wish I had known that sooner.
Yeah. And full disclosure, we did have to look up the Goldilocks story again to remind ourselves of what exactly had happened, to be able to kind of give you guys a little bit of context. But yeah, no, I agree. And I really hate that you're really taking all of mine because...
Did you have that one on your list too?
Well, kind of. So mine, and I'll go into it now, mine is just literally more is not always better. And it goes very much into what you were saying. But for me, we came from a CrossFit background, working out 5-6 days a week. Sometimes I would do 2 a days and just continue to burn my body into the ground. And sure, I was fit. I was in decent shape. I was in, great cardiovascular shape, but my physical goals were not being met. So I really had to dive deep and be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Like, what is it that I'm not doing? What else can I do, right? What can I train more? Like, what can I do? So then now... Fast forwarding, is that a word? Fast forwarding. But man, we can't speak today. But yeah, going back to what I'm doing now, I work out 4 days a week and I'm in there for, roughly 45 minutes to an hour. And we just tested my 1 rep maxes, which is basically for you guys that don't have a much background, but you just test, your weights, see how many times you can do 1 set or 1 rep of that particular weight. And we tested my deadlift, we tested my back squat, we tested my bench press, and happy to say that at 30 years old, my back squat was at
almost 31.
30. Yes, 31 in 9 days. Wait, yeah, 9 days. Oh my gosh. But anyways, at 30 years old, I squatted 385 pounds. When I was in my mid-20s, I was doing like 315, 320, doing more.
I remember in CrossFit when we did 1 rep maxes one day and you were like so happy that you got over 300.
That was
was with us doing, like 2 a days most of the time. We would do a CrossFit class. We would spend like another hour just lifting, like doing different stuff. Like we were spending so much time in the gym. Now you're spending way less time and you're able to lift way more weight.
Yeah.
And you look better than ever too.
Well, and then I get like compliments that like, I'm not going to say the person's name, but I was like, hey, remember I was wearing the pair of jeans and people were like, oh, your butt looks so good in those jeans. And I was like, hell yeah. But anyways, my point being is more is not always better. If you do something that is working for your body specifically and it helps you achieve the goals that you want to do, you don't have to spend hours in the gym. You can literally knock it out in, 3-4 hours a week. And if you have the right combination of nutrition and training, you'll get there so much faster. And that's one of the things I wish I would have known in my 20s, because right now I'd probably be like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, pretty much. Something like that.
Or The Rock.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll go into my next one there since we kind of doubled down on sort of the same one. So the next one on my list, and this one definitely would have surprised me back probably just a few years ago, was really learning how massages can be helpful and they can be harmful to your progress depending on the types of massages you're getting. Ooh. And me well, Omar, of like, I've always loved massages, like always. Omar's like rolling his eyes now because
I've told Vanessa in the past, I'm like, babe, ask me to do anything. I will cook for you. I will do laundry. I will do whatever you want. But when it comes to massages, I was like, that is literally the one thing I hate doing.
And it's the one thing I love the most.
But I will, for you and you alone, I will do it.
You will gripe and groan as you give me a massage, but you will occasionally do it.
But I'm like, are you sure you don't want to go to Massage Envy this time? But yes, I will do it.
But, you know, even I think from like the very early days out of college, as soon as I had a paycheck, that was like the first thing that I was like, all right, this is for myself. I am getting a massage membership because I love massages. But especially during that time when I was working out really hard, I was overtraining. My body was kind of in a lot of pain a lot of times too. And so like I felt like, oh, I need to get massages to help improve my recovery. But the reality is, I was a big fan of deep tissue massages. Like I wanted to be in pain. Like they would get in there good. And I didn't learn until later.
Get real good in there.
Oh yeah, get in there good. But I didn't learn until later that a deep tissue massage can also be stressful in the body. That can be, you know, almost too much stimulus for the body to where then it can actually impair recovery as well. And so something that then I transitioned to really in the last year was I gave up deep tissue massages and I started telling any massage therapist that I just want that my massage is purely for relaxation, for stress relief, and I don't let them get too deep because the reality is just the slight movement.
I love your hands. If you guys are watching on camera, people are going, what is wrong with the two of them?
Yeah, but the softer, more gentle massages are better for a recovery purpose, and they're better for actual stress relief.
Yeah. See, babe, that's why I don't want to massage you, because I don't want to stress your body out way too much, and then you won't be able to recover properly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what you got on your list?
My next one. This one's a little bit more like. What's the word? Like a little bit deeper. So for me, I said that one, for guys and girls, I think body dysmorphia is very real, and it's not about losing the 20, 30, 40 pounds. Sure, you'll feel better that way. You'll be able to fit into different clothes. You'll be able to, take pictures. You'll have more confidence, and that's all great. But if you don't love yourself when you're 30, 40 pounds heavier, you're not going to love yourself 30, 40 pounds lighter, because I've done them both. And I've been 230 pounds. I've been 160 pounds. And what got to me was, as I was thinking, was I've been to 160 pounds. I remember taking pictures of my progress photos and nitpicking my body, be like, damn, this is still not looking great. This is still not looking great. And then I go, like this past bulking phase that I did, I went up to 200 pounds. And I was just looking at photos now, and I compared myself at 200 and at 160. I was like, holy shit, like how was I not happy with the progress I was looking at 140 or at 160? And now that I'm 200, I wish I was 160. And I'm sure I'll get
it's funny how that happens,
yeah,
right?
And I'm sure I'll get to the 180. I'm sure I'll get to 170 and say the exact same thing. But it's really, when it comes to health and fitness, I think it's as much mental as it is physical. And if you don't do that mental work when you're heavier, when you're not happy, and you learn to find joy from something else, you'll get to your goal weight if you do it correctly, but you still won't love yourself. And you still, you need to find that deeper, I guess, love for yourself from something else, or maybe, find that love from family or whatever really brings that joy to you. Because if you do it purely on like a superficial, I just want to look this way, you'll get to that goal if you do it eventually, but you'll be unhappy and you'll be miserable and you'll continue to nitpick yourself. So it's a little bit for me as much, mental, dealing with that body dysmorphia, dealing with those thoughts in myself, so that when I get to whatever goal weight I have, I'll love myself for who I am. Yeah,
I love that one. And it's one of those things where, even with myself, like obviously I have gained weight in the last year working on my hormone health, and it did present an opportunity for me to work on these things, to work again on body acceptance from a new perspective, from a new angle, from a new circumstance. And it has been challenging at times. Nobody's ever going to say it's easy to accept your body at bigger sizes.
It's not easy. It freaking sucks, but because you're just such a big critic to yourself.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is we are always going to be more critical of ourselves than anybody else is. And I guarantee you that the people in your life who love you, they don't love you for how your body looks, for the size of your body, but they do love you for how you treat yourself, how you show up in the world. And if you're beating yourself up, if you're getting out of the shower and you're avoiding the mirror because you don't even want to look at yourself, or you do catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you just make really mean comments, those things are going to carry over to other areas of your life. And what Omar said is exactly correct. It's not going to automatically fix itself once you just reach a certain weight on the scale.
I thought it would, and it doesn't.
It's a habit. picking on your body is a habit. And until that habit is broken, it's not going to fix itself automatically when just the circumstance of your body shape or size changes. You're going to maintain that habit at every shape and size. And I'm with you. I've been there. Like, you know, obviously being at a heavier weight now, I'm looking back at photos from myself, you know, 2 years ago, and I'm like, man, I still thought I needed to be leaner then. And I look at it now, and I'm like, holy moly, I was super lean.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. So that's a really good one. I like that lesson.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, no, it's something that I'm still constantly working through, but I promise you're not alone. Everybody does it. Everybody's so concerned. And the biggest question, the biggest prompt that I've always found useful is, would you speak yourself this way, or the way you're speaking to yourself, would you speak the same way to a friend? Would you say these same things to your daughter? Would you say these same things to your mom or anything like that? And if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't speak that way to yourself either, because you're literally the most important person you talk to. And, you know, you need to watch those kind of things. Yeah.
Man, I love it. Well, we're going to go from your deep one to my not so deep one.
All right. What you got?
So my next one on my list is double tasking on walks. It might save time in the moment, but it's going to add time to your health journey. And what I mean by that is that when we are just always in this hurry where we're saying, okay, I need to go on a walk so I can hit my step goal. I need to go on a walk because I know movement's good for me. I need to go on a walk for whatever XYZ reason, but I don't have enough time. So I need to, on this walk, make sure I'm checking messages on my phone, or, you know, answering a phone call, or doing XYZ other task at the same time. That can be detrimental, because the most important piece of going on walks is for the downtime, to bring your nervous system into a parasympathetic state, to relax, to have that quietness, and to allow yourself to just be in more of a restful state. That's how we shift into a more rest and digest state, which is super important, because if we're on calls all day, we're doing tasks all day, we're jumping from one thing to the next, that is ramping your nervous system up. That's putting you into a stressed state even when you don't feel stressed. So we need those calming walks to be the antidote to that. And if we are always double tasking on walks, which is something I used to always do, I never went on a walk without also doing something else at the same time. And the reality is, I realize now that those walks just weren't as beneficial for my healing journey. And if I had done more of what I do now, which is I do more intentional just walks without any kind of stimulus, no podcasts on, no talking to anybody, checking Slack messages. I just truly just walk, and I just am mindful. I might look at nature. I might just kind of allow myself to be in my thoughts and just focus on the feeling of the walk. I feel so much better after those walks. And I do think it has been incredibly helpful for my own hormone healing journey and just my health as a whole.
I feel personally attacked by that, because I'm like, that's me. I literally like listen to podcasts, answer Slack messages. And at times I literally have made the effort to leave my phone at home while I'm going for a walk, because otherwise, like, you'll get text messages, like your watch and stuff will go off, and I'm just like, I can't ever disconnect. But yeah, that one's a huge one for me.
Yeah. It's not to say that you can't, multitask on some walks. Like, I have a walking pad at my desk, and I love to walk while I work. It can be really great for helping my brain, helping my focus. But when I go for my outdoor walks during the day, those are purely for parasympathetic nervous system support, which means I want to make them relaxing.
Yeah, no, I love it. Do we have time for one more, or do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think let's finish out our list.
All right, I've got one more. Actually, this isn't from my list. It just kind of came to me while I was chatting. But for me personally, chewing your food and eating slowly has been a big thing that I still have yet to work on. I
like how you added it's been a huge thing, but I have still yet to work on it.
Because it's so ingrained in me. So I grew up working in, food and beverage. Like, you were always on the go. It's like rush. You never had time to sit down. And then as I got older, that just became a habit of mine. Like, I would eat very fast, and I literally would it's very weird, but I would take pride in how fast I would eat, but to the point where I just probably wouldn't chew my food all the way, or I wouldn't, and it would just put such a big put a big stressor on my gut as it's trying to digest all these things, right? So as we went through the Hybrid Health Summit in Miami a couple months ago, I guess a month ago, that was one of the things that they talked about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have been doing all of these years so incorrectly. And I've been putting such a big stressor on my stomach and my gut and all of these things when I can literally just use my teeth, chew my food a little bit slower, and it'll help tremendously, right?
Yeah, digestion starts in the mouth.
And even that.
It's funny. It's almost like nobody's ever told you that before.
If only I had a wife that would tell me that every once in a
while.
If
only. Gosh.
But the other one too is like, even when you mentioned the mouth, is like brushing your teeth and having like good dental hygiene. The amount of bacteria that sits in your mouth that goes into your gut, if you don't have proper oral hygiene, is crazy. And that was one of the things I'm like, all right, I need to floss more. Like I need to brush my teeth, you know?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I take for granted, but chewing and eating slowly has been something that I will continue to work on.
Yeah.
All right. What about you?
All right, so I'll do my last one on my list. This is something that I just recently learned, actually from our head coach, Alex. She's currently going through a functional health course right now. And something that she had learned in the course and she just shared with me is how different strains of probiotics can be used for different symptoms, different conditions, different goals when it comes to our bodies and our health. And, we're, of course, like the gut health realm is something that's so evolving day over day. There's not enough research being done about the gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome affects, oh my gosh, everything. It affects our mental health. It affects our physical health. It affects our body composition. It's so important to have your gut in a good place.
Well, don't they say like your gut is like your body's second brain?
Yeah, it's like the second brain. Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing is, probiotics is something that people for, decades have talked about the importance of just probiotics. But the reality is probiotics are living organisms and there's a lot of different strains and there's a lot of different types and qualities of different types of probiotics.
I did not know that. I thought probiotics were just one thing.
Gosh, no. And so that's, when it comes to probiotics, of course, we've been, very knowledgeable with our coaching clients for the last few years of using different types of probiotics as far as there's certain, brands that we use that we know are higher quality, like just buying a general probiotic off the store, not a good idea. A lot of probiotics are just not actually going to do anything for you. There's really certain types that are going to be best. But what we had just learned is that within different, and I'm saying types and different brands of probiotics, you can find certain strains, and those strains, those living organisms, different ones have different purposes. You might have one strain that is really important for mental health. So somebody who's dealing with anxiety and depression might benefit from that strain.
Wow.
There's certain strains that might be better for immunity. Someone who gets sick often might need that strain. And so it's been a really cool kind of new realization for us of the power of using some different probiotics. Like I know we even just were talking of, one of our clients with Crohn's, how she might really benefit from this certain strain that we had kind of discovered is really great for very severe, essentially severe gut health issues, such as things that arise with Crohn's. And so it's really exciting, something I'm just excited about, and I was excited to actually share on this podcast.
Yeah, no, that is exciting. And to be honest, I mean, I know very little about the gut, but the importance of it, and when it is off whack, if you want to call it that, like
whack,
your whole body is thrown for a loop. I mean, you've kind of experienced some of it, and I've seen it through you, and I'm like, holy crap! Like sometimes I take it for granted. For me as a guy, I'm like, I don't deal, knock on wood, with a lot of gut issues, but yeah, if you don't, again, change your diet a little bit, expose your body to different nutrients, different bacteria, different things, different that, your body becomes so used to it, and you end up paying for it in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, gut health issues are just so prevalent nowadays because of just, unfortunately, like there's obviously benefits to our modern society. There's so many amazing things that have come from new technology and new, just like all the different things that we're exposed to. But there's also, of course, downsides to things. And we are exposed to more toxins. We are exposed to more just different things that do affect the gut microbiome. And so it's almost kind of scary, honestly. More and more, I think every generation is probably going to have more and more gut health issues, but thankfully there's more and more research coming out as well.
And honestly, there's so much information out there. You can go on so many rabbit holes. So to me, I think it's a little bit overwhelming. I can't even imagine to like the average person. So don't go out there and like look at all this stuff and just be like, oh my God,
it can be very intimidating.
Yeah, what do I eat? What do I do this, right? It's, let's find yourself somebody that can help you find the right things for you, your specific body. And it'll take the stress out of you trying to figure out for yourself, and it'll actually help you do it as opposed to trying to figure out what works for the masses instead of you.
Yeah. And when it comes to gut health, we still always have to cover the basics. So it's even if it's like if you're somebody who is overwhelmed by what you see out there about like, oh, do this for your gut health, do that for your gut health. The reality is if that's overwhelming, you're probably in a place where you still need to start with the basics anyway. So don't even worry about that stuff yet. And then take it step by step. And then if you do have all your basics covered, that's when bringing in a professional who can really help, who really is an expert in gut health, can take it to the next level.
Awesome.
But, yeah, I think this was a fun episode. At least for me, it was fun to record.
I loved it.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If it resonated with you, send it to a friend, share it out there. It helps us reach more people so we can have a greater impact. And we'll be back next week.
See you guys.